Yes, oh yes, oh yes. This Honorable Court for the County of Beaufort is now open and sitting for the dispatch of its business. The Honorable Judge Waylon J. Sermons Jr. presiding. The Honorable Judge Regina Parker officiating. God save the state and this Honorable Court. Please be seated and come to order.
Good afternoon. Welcome to everyone to this very special session of Beaufort County Superior Court. It's indeed a pleasure to be able to preside over this session where my good friend and colleague Keith Mason will be transitioning from private practice to the bench. At this time I'd like to call on Reverend Danny Allen for an invocation. Reverend Allen. Thank you.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we gather this afternoon to recognize and to celebrate a new beginning for Mr. Keith Mason. It is the beginning of a position of responsibility that each day will significantly affect the lives of every person that comes before him. We have read in your holy word that you place people in positions of authority and give them responsibility to reside in those places. Together we pray that your Spirit will guide Keith each day as he assumes and conducts the responsibilities of this new office. Give him wisdom that he will recognize truth from falsehood, so that each ruling from his chair will be fair for all sides. Give him a spirit of compassion, that he may listen to each side equally, so that his rulings will respect the persons before him, regardless of their situation in life. Give him courage that his judgments will be made for everyone involved according to the law. Finally, Father, give him honor, so that he may live outside this courtroom a life worthy of your trust in him. And persons who find themselves in his courtroom will know the judgments rendered are right for all. We ask your blessing and make our prayers in the name and presence of the great Judge of all, our Lord Jesus the Christ. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Allen. I'll now call the Reverend Ken Hall for scripture and further remarks.
A reading from the second book of Chronicles, the 19th chapter, verses 4 through 11. Jehoshaphat lived in Jerusalem, and once again he went out among the people from Beersheba to the hill country of Ephraim, and brought them back to the Lord, the God of their ancestors. He appointed judges in all the fortified cities of the land of Judah, city by city. Then he said to the judges, "Consider what you are doing, for you do not judge for a mere mortal, but for the Lord, who is with you in the matter of judgment. And now may the terror of the Lord be on you. Watch what you do, for there is no injustice or partiality or taking bribes with the Lord our God." Jehoshaphat also appointed in Jerusalem some of the Levites and priests and some of the Israelite family heads for deciding the Lord's will and for settling disputes of the residents of Jerusalem. He commanded them, saying, "In the fear of the Lord, with integrity and wholeheartedly, you are to do the following. For every dispute that comes to you from your brothers who dwell in their cities, whether it regards differences of blood guilt, law, commandments, statutes, or judgments, you are to warn them, so they will not incur guilt before the Lord, and wrath will not come on you and your brothers. Do this, and you will not incur guilt. Note that Amariah, the chief priest, is over you in all matters related to the Lord, and Zebediah, son of Ishmael, the ruler of the house of Judah, in all matters related to the king. And the Levites are officers in your presence. Be strong. May the Lord be with those who do what is good." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. This is truly a momentous day, both for our community and the one whom we honor. I have the great privilege of serving as Keith's pastor and have benefited from his counsel and wisdom, both in a legal and a congregational sense. I know how much he loves this community and the degree of seriousness with which he takes his responsibilities as an agent of the law. We prayed together that God's will would be done in the decision of becoming a judge, and we rejoiced when this became a reality. I remarked to Keith, you know, Keith, I've been calling you wonderful counselor. Now that you're going to be a judge, does that mean I have to refer to you as your honor instead? And he looked me in the eye and said, only when you appear before me in court. Well, no offense, Keith, but I'm going to exercise every caution to see that that does not happen. I'll have to look for other times to address you accordingly. All humor aside, I want you to know how pleased I and all of your family at First Church are at your having been accorded this high honor. Know that you'll be in our prayers as you assume your duties, and our community is indeed gaining a worthy judicial servant and interpreter of the law. The passage from the scriptures that I read to you was chosen by Keith particularly for this afternoon and for this occasion, and I believe it to be a very appropriate passage of scripture and a passage that has much to say to Keith and to all of us concerning the proper way to administer true justice. Our text speaks of the dealings of King Jehoshaphat of Judah, a wise and just ruler. In the 3rd year of his reign, he made a very important decision. He sent out a whole new group of judges and interpreters of the law throughout his whole kingdom with the purpose of establishing true justice for his people. The foundation of the law was not to be seen solely as a social contract, the will of the people, nor merely as the principle of might makes right, what the government finds convenient to enforce. Rather, justice is the process of supporting what is right while endeavoring to obtain an absolute standard of truth. The jurisprudence of today continues to strive to meet that standard. It has been said, and I believe rightfully so, that we are a country of laws. And as citizenry, whether we would admit it or not, this is exactly what we want. Truth, justice, and law are absolutely essential for the well-being of society. How would it feel to live in a society where there were no truth, no justice, no law? Now, granted, when we see a blue light in our rearview mirror, it begins to fill us with a sense of anxiety, dread, and perhaps even a little bit of embarrassment. But imagine a world where we could not trust the enforcers and interpreters of the law with the enormous powers they're given. Worse yet, what if we lived in a world where there were no truth, justice, or law? These things, just as in Jehoshaphat's day, are absolutely essential for the well-being of our society. That being said, the duty of aspiring to this high standard as the servants of truth, law, and justice is quite a task, because we live in a world in which the truth is often hard to discern. Increasingly within our culture, morality, truth, and justice are seen to be relative in nature, subject to manipulation in order to benefit a given situation. And the temptation to give in to that behavior and the pressure placed on those in authority to do that places administrators of justice and truth in precarious positions. A November 2016 report from NPR talked about a study of manipulation of decisions of referees in the National Football League. According to a study by Skidmore College, the NFL refs are more likely to make calls that comply with the wishes of the people who are nearest to them when they make the call. The story states, in short, intimidation works. Pressure the refs, get in their face, and they'll often cave in to social pressure. No doubt, adjudicators often face pressures of popular opinion. But at the end of the day, in order to fulfill the function of a judge, one must hold fast to the truth. In the text, Jehoshaphat, in effect, warns his judges that they're not judging for the purpose of gaining favor or popular opinion. They are judging for the purpose of upholding the ultimate law and the ultimate truth. The same applies to judges and officers of justice today. Manipulation of the truth for favoritism in justice is a crime against law and order. As a judge, as an officer of the court, one must be absolutely incorrupt. The path of justice must be just as fair and as certain for the indigent as for the rich, for those of poor reputation as for those of favorable reputation. The worth of a civilization, its culture, should be measured by its nearness to this standard of the fair and equitable upholding of truth and justice. That's the standard which you, Keith, are voluntarily taking upon yourself. It's not an easy task, but the devotion to due administering of truth, justice, and the law is absolutely essential for our community and for the world. The good news is you don't face this task alone. As a judge, you're expected to be an agent of justice and truth, and you will do that with the help of the knowledge that you've already acquired and from your continued study of the law. The ministry of justice, like every other vocational area of life, calls for the willingness to be a lifetime learner. You'll also be able to avail yourself of the shared wisdom of your fellow judges and officers of the court. None of us is able, nor should we be expected, to know everything there is to know by ourselves alone. We were made to live and serve in community, and as we do so, the truth is better served and justice is better served. Above all else, you will have the blessing of wisdom from on high. The scriptures tell us that as a young man, Solomon, when given the choice of receiving his heart's desire, simply prayed for the gift of wisdom. His desire fulfilled, Solomon became renowned for his ability to judge more wisely than anybody else in the world. As you strengthen yourself spiritually, as you pray for wisdom, you will find the strength and the courage and the insight necessary to, if you will pardon the pun, do great justice to this high calling to which you are aspiring. Know also you will be in the thoughts and prayers of your community and your First Church family. This is indeed a day of celebration. Keith, we're grateful that you have accepted this high calling of standing for truth and for justice and for the law. You'll be tempted to trade truth for convenience, justice for favor, and the law for popular opinion, but stand firm in your calling and find strength and support in your learning, in your colleagues, in your community, and most of all, in God, the righteous judge. Our prayers and best wishes go with you this day and always.
I'd now like to recognize our very own clerk, Marty Paramore, to recognize our special guest.
Greetings. It's never good when you have to speak behind the preacher. When Keith asked me to recognize the dignitaries, I didn't realize there would be so many. So I will do my best, and I hope I don't leave anyone out. Introducing the judges that are here today. We have, of course, our very own Chief District Court Judge Regina Parker is here. You'll see her later on in the ceremony. Our District Court Judge Chris McClendon is here. District Court Judge Daryl Caton is here. From Pitt County, one of our new judges, or I say our new judges, I feel like he's part of us, is Judge Mario Perez. He's here. Retired Judge Sam Grimes is here. He was the Chief District Court Judge here for many years. As well as Michael Paul, who created this position by his mates. District Court Judge from Onslow County, Sarah Seaton, is here somewhere.
I'm also Bob Cowan's daughter from Martin County.
I think I've made an error. It should be the Honorable for each of these judges when I say their names, so forgive me for that. The Honorable Rob Johnson, former Assistant DA here in this district, also former DA in Alamance, and a retired Superior Court Judge from District 15A is here.
It's good to be here.
Also, Judge Napoleon Barefoot, Jr., retired District Court Judge from the 13th District, is here. We have a whole lot of clerks here. We have the Honorable Brian Keith Phelps from Washington County. I didn't forget the Honorable for my fellow clerks. The Honorable Brandy Pugh from Hyde County. The Honorable Angie Sexton from Terrell County. And the Honorable Tanya Leggett from Martin County. And along with myself, that represents each of the clerks in the 2nd Judicial District. We have retired Beaufort County Clerk Tom Payne, retired Terrell County Clerk Tommy Everett, and retired Martin County Clerk Phyllis Pearson. Also, Vicki Everett is here, and she was the longtime trial court administrator for Judge Griffin. The Honorable Seth Edwards, our very own district attorney, is here. County Commissioners, the Honorable Jerry Evans, Beaufort County Commissioners, the Honorable Ed Booth, and the Honorable Jerry Langley. School Board member, the Honorable Ethel Booth is here. Hyde County Sheriff, the Honorable Guire Cahoon is here. Thank you, Sheriff. And I'm quite certain I've left someone out. And if I did that, please forgive me. Or you could stand up and introduce yourself. But thank you very much. Thank you for this honor.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. I'd now like to call on our retired Chief District Court Judge Michael Paul.
Hey, please go for this. Well, I sort of feel like Marty has made the comment about following two stalwart Methodist ministers. I figure I'd just give up now, plead guilty, and ask for mercy. But that's not how it's going to be. I'd like to give greetings and welcome on behalf of the Mason family to all the friends, family, and elected officials and the other persons that are here today to celebrate this occasion. It is a unique and in this district a rare occasion when we celebrate and witness the investiture of a new judge. And why are we here today? It's for this historic moment. It's a historic moment in the life of the 2nd District Bar. It's a historic moment in the history of the state of North Carolina. And it is an historic and memorable moment for Keith and Doogie Mason and their family. Let me give you a brief history of the court here. 50 years ago, by statute, the General Assembly created the unified court system. It created the district court division in that unified court system. And Beaufort County at that time, 50 years ago, was placed in the 2nd Judicial District, along with 4 other counties. And so it comprises 5 counties. The judgeship that Judge Mason and Keith will soon be sworn into, he'll hold court in 5 counties. And the 5 clerks are seated up here to the right of Judge Sermons. And 50 years ago, the district was created with district court here with 2 judges, Honorable Judge Hop Ward and Honorable Judge Charles Manning. In the last 50 years, there have only been 8 judges in this district. The administrative office of the court has recognized our district, the second district here, as being unique in that fact, is that our district is the only district in this state that's had the fewest number of judges. They've been long serving. And that's the district court that Keith Mason is stepping into now. As to Keith himself as an individual, let me just briefly say, I remember when he began his legal career here in Washington. He moved back, a native of Bath, he moved back to Washington here and began his practice in August of 1982. He got his license. And he became an assistant district attorney with the district attorney's office here in the second district. And he and his wife, Doogie, made their home here, and their two sons, Keith and Adam. Now Keith, he's about to be sworn in here, I can say this. He's an honest man. He's been a very good husband to Doogie. The best, I'm sure she would say. He's been a father, and to me, he's been a friend. We're very lucky and fortunate to have him now selected to fill this seat. But for the past 20 years, he's been actively involved in the private practice of law in his own office. He at this time practices with Brian Jones and Amanda Saston McKinney. And I know Keith, as a judge, will be fair. He'll be diligent in his duties and patient in his courtroom manner, because that is Keith Mason. He also will have a quality that is necessary in judges, and that is to have some compassion to the persons that are appearing before you. But I would advise him this: when you make your decision in a case, make that decision and move on. Do not carry the weight of every decision you make. And now to the public, let me say this to you. You are his friends. Some of you are his family. Some of you are his church family. Keith has a career, spent a career in the last 20 plus years of giving legal advice to people. He's been honest and fair in that advice, and more than willing to help you when you call him. But let me say this for his benefit now. Keith is out of the advice-giving business. The transition from practicing law to sitting on the bench to preside in cases takes a lot of getting used to, and one of the first things that he'll have to get used to is that people will call him up on the phone and say, "I have a speeding ticket, can you help me?" Do not call the judge on the phone. He is now presiding to hear all these cases. It's improper for him to make any comment or try to assist you. Not because he doesn't want to. I know Keith. He wants to help every one of you. And you'll be tempted to try to do that. But don't tempt him. Don't call him. Talk with him about anything except your court business. He cannot do that. Now Keith has big shoulders. And those shoulders can carry the burden of the office. I have no doubt about that. And you can carry the weight on those shoulders of decisions that you're called on to make. You'll have compassion for the public who come before you. But I, like most of the public here, sort of regret the loss of a good lawyer. But take heart. In place of a good lawyer, we now have a good judge on the bench. And be proud and rejoice in that with Keith. I wish him the best. And if I can provide you with any assistance at all, however small it might be, you know how to find me. Again, thank you for being here today. It's a pleasure to be involved in this. And I look forward to seeing Keith sworn in. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Paul. Now I call on our District Attorney Seth Edwards for remarks about the new judge.
May it please the court. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor and a privilege to stand before you today for this very momentous occasion here for the citizens of Beaufort, Hyde, Martin, Terrell, and Washington counties. I'd like to borrow a phrase from my good friend and longtime attorney Maynard Harrell, who's seated on the front row here. He likes to begin his closing arguments to the jury with the following. Like King Henry VIII said to his fifth wife, "I won't keep you long." True story. It's hard to believe that it was almost 16 years ago that I stood in this courtroom and Judge William Griffin took the bench and swore me in as district attorney. And when he did it on that particular day, he read from a couple of Supreme Court cases that dealt with the role of the prosecutor. And in fact, after the ceremony, Judge Griffin left my invitation on the bench that I picked up and I've carried for almost 16 years. It's got his handwriting on the back where he listed the two cases that really define the role of a prosecutor. And this is a constant reminder that I carry in my briefcase to constantly remind me of what my job is as the DA. So Keith, in that same vein, I felt it appropriate today to reference a couple of United States Supreme Court cases that dealt with the role and what are the proper qualities and conduct of judges. In the first case out of the state of Alabama, the court stated that, quote, "The proper constitutional inquiry is whether a judge sitting on the case would offer a possible temptation to the average judge to lead him not to hold the balance nice, clear, and true." Keith, those are three pretty simple words: nice, clear, and true. Now, I've never been a judge, I've never worn a black robe, but I would suspect it's easier said than done in a messy custody case or heated DWI trial to be the judge on the bench and to try to hold the balance as nice, clear, and true, especially in district court sometimes. So Keith, that is my first challenge to you today as you take the bench. At all times, hold the balance nice, clear, and true. The second case from the United States Supreme Court came out of the state of Minnesota. And the court in that particular case stated this: "There is a presumption of honesty and integrity in those serving as adjudicators. All judges take an oath to uphold the Constitution and apply the law impartially, and we trust that they will live up to this promise." Now, ladies and gentlemen, when Keith takes the bench and is sworn in, he will not just have a presumption of honesty and integrity. He is honest. He has integrity. And I know that when you start presiding over cases, Keith, you're one of the most honorable men I've ever known in my entire life. And I have, there's no doubt whatsoever. Now, I'm not talking about reasonable doubt, which I'm usually talking to the jury. And I try to stress to the jury that my burden is not without any doubt or beyond a shadow of a doubt. It's just reasonable doubt. But without a doubt, he is honest, he has integrity, and I have no questions whatsoever that he will uphold that oath. So Keith, my challenge to you today is it's not that I'm asking whether you possess those qualities. My challenge is to maintain those qualities as you take the bench. You'll no doubt be faced with situations where someone calls on you to be maybe a little less honest, maybe just a tad bit partial, and I call on you to maintain those qualities. Trust your gut, your guiding principles that have gotten you this far. I'm sure you will be fine. My third and final challenge to Keith today comes from a quote from one of the most famous jurists of all time, Learned Hand. And he said this, quote, "It is the daily, it is the small, it is the cumulative injuries of little people that we are here to protect. If we are able to keep our democracy, there must be one commandment: thou shalt not ration justice." Keith, I want to congratulate you and Doogie, congratulate your family. This has been a team effort, I know. And I look forward to appearing before you as we seek justice together. Godspeed.
Thank you, Seth. I'll now call on our Vice Chair of our Beaufort County Board of Commissioners, Jerry Langley.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon. I truly count this a privilege and an honor to stand before you all this afternoon and talk about the guy I consider to be my friend. I've always found him to be extremely consistent. I first met Keith in 1982. I became a deputy sheriff in November of 1982, and Keith was an assistant district attorney. And from the moment I met him, I realized this is a genuinely nice guy, a genuinely good guy. And over the years, I have seen him maintain that same status. He's extremely consistent, fair, and he knows exactly how to treat people extremely well. When I look at Lady Justice with the blindfold on, with the scales, I think of this guy because he's honest and he's good. He's not one of these people who are up today and down tomorrow. He's going to be a judge where you walk in his courtrooms, every time you step in, you're going to get the same old guy, a good, honest person who will do what he feels is best. And that's what's so important in a life. When you go to bed at night, that you realize you've done what you thought was best. That's all any man or any woman can do in this lifetime, is simply do what's right. And so I say to you on this afternoon, this is a good guy. And I am oh so happy that he has this appointment, and I'm looking forward to hear all the good things that are going to be said about him. So to my friend Keith, may God bless you and heaven always smile upon you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Jerry. The court now recognizes retired District Court Judge Polly Barefoot Jr., whose father presided over criminal trials in this very courtroom, and I was several times a very young defense lawyer and enjoyed him immensely.
As the judge said, I do not look at all like my dad. I don't know if you knew my dad or not, but he was about 6 inches shorter than me and was bald-headed. And just to tell you a short story about him, back in Brunswick County, they had several drug traffickers. The DA there during that time had plea bargains for all these fellas, and there was one big fella. And the DA told him, he said, look here, he said, if you go out there, and the judge is a nice-looking judge, and he doesn't look mean, you're in good shape. But now, if you go out there and there's this old bald-headed fellow, you're in trouble. And he said that was the first time he'd seen a big man like that sit down on the top step and start crying. It's my pleasure to be back here in Washington. As the judge stated, I've been in this courtroom a number of times because when I initially started practicing law, and that's how I know Keith, back in 1983, I was practicing with a fellow by the name of Tom Davis in Hyde County. Now that was a challenge in itself, because not only because of Tom, but because Hyde County is such a small county. And I noticed that the sheriff was here, Guire Cahoon. I want to tell a story before I leave. I'm sorry, being away and coming back and seeing people I hadn't seen in a long time, I got some stories. But anyway, Guire took me hunting. We went quail hunting. The last time I went quail hunting. that I saw as many coveys as I saw on that day. I know we got up at least 8 coveys of quail, and it was one of the greatest days I ever had quail hunting. Never had one since then. It's great to see him and his family. I've known them for years. Keith and Doogie, what can I say? I told Doogie before I got up here to speak, I said, you know, you don't ever have to worry about your name. Just look at mine, Napoleon Bonaparte. And I've had to live with that my whole life. But anyway, Keith, the way we met was Keith had worked during the summer with Tom, and he and I had met, become good friends, skied together, socialized together. But one thing you may not know about Keith, and I think he's probably one of the closest men to perfection that I know. He doesn't have any vices. He has absolutely no vices. He's probably one of the nicest people you ever meet in your life. I told him when I talked to him earlier that the one piece of advice I give you is what my father gave me when I went on the bench. My father was living at that time, and he told me, boy, and that's what he called me all the time, he said, boy, remember where you came from. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. In being a position that Keith's got, it takes integrity, compassion, and patience. I think there's been a great selection in that. I think he's going to do you folks a great job, and I'm sure that these folks that get to work with him are going to love working with him, as nice a person as he is. His family is very supportive. Unfortunately, recently his mother passed, but I'm sure she's looking down and she's smiling. With that said, I can't say anything more about Keith Mason other than the fact that I am proud to call him my friend. And unfortunately, I retired in 2012 with 27 years with the state, and so I won't be working with him at all, but I will be practicing law, and maybe one day I can get in front of him. Thank you very much for letting me be here and speaking.
Thank you. All right, now for the business that we're really here for, and to introduce people that actually know Keith. I'll call his law partner, Amanda McKinney. Introduce this man.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I would like to say that I'm going to tell you something that's going to make you laugh or chuckle, but in all actuality, this is a sad day for us. We're going to miss you a lot, Keith, and although it's a great day for the members of the 2nd Judicial District, working with this man has been quite an experience. I have a unique perspective because I actually called Keith some years ago and asked if he was interested in taking on an intern, to which he graciously said absolutely. And so I actually spent day in and day out right side by side with Keith Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5:30 every single day. And I can echo every single thing that everyone has said here so far. Compassion, patience, integrity. He does not make a decision without thinking it through. I can guarantee you he is one of the smartest men I have ever met, without a doubt. With that being said, our loss is everyone else's gain, and I'm happy to introduce Keith Mason as our appointee for the District Court Judge position. Joining him today is his wife, Elizabeth Hodges Mason, more fondly known as Doogie, as well as his son, Keith Mason Jr., his son, Adam Archie Mason, and his wife, Cassie Sassner Mason.
Thank you, Amanda. And now the court recognizes Her Honor, Regina. Excuse me. Regina R. Parker, our Chief District Court Judge, to administer the oath.
Thank you. At this time, I will administer the oath to Keith B. Mason. Keith, I know that you're going to be a great judge, a tremendous asset to the bench, and a true servant to the people. Left hand on the Bible, raise your right.
I, Keith B. Mason,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, so help me God.
so help me God.
I
I, Keith B. Mason,
do solemnly and sincerely swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God.
so help me God.
I
Keith B. Mason,
do solemnly swear that I will administer justice without favoritism to anyone or to the state, that I will not knowingly take, directly or indirectly, any fee, gift, gratuity, or reward whatsoever for any matter or thing done by me or to be done by me by virtue of my office, except the salary and allowances by law provided, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge all the duties of District Court Judge of the North Carolina General Court of Justice to the best of my ability and understanding, and consistent with the Constitution and laws of the state, so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
It gets easier.
Ladies and gentlemen, His Honor Keith B. Mason. The court now recognizes Judge Mason for remarks.
Thank you. May it please the court. Well, I had a few things to say, and now I'm just so humbled by all the remarks that have been made before me. I don't know if I can get through this or not, but the main thing I want to say is words of thanks to so many people. And like Marty said, I'm sure I will probably leave someone out, so please forgive me on that. I don't know where to begin to thank all the people who have helped me to realize this wonderful dream that I have to serve the people of the 2nd Judicial District as your new District Court Judge. I'm sure I'll overlook someone, but I'm going to try. First of all, I thank God for giving me this opportunity. And as Ken and Danny have suggested, I will pray for His wisdom and guidance as I undertake the task before me. Second, I have to say thanks and a big I love you to my wife, soulmate, confidant, best friend, and love of my life, Doogie, without whom I would not be the man I am today. Also, my two boys, Keith and Adam, for giving me enough gray hairs to make me qualified for this. But not so many that I ever had to worry about them ending up in front of any of my colleagues. Cassie, I'm going to thank you in advance for keeping me straight in the courtroom and making me look like I know what I'm doing. I love you guys. All love you. I need to thank my parents who didn't live to see this honor, but who always made me feel that I could achieve it or anything else that I ever aspired to do. And somehow I feel as if they are looking down on us here today, and I hope that I've always made them proud and upheld the family name. Special thanks to my big brother Gary for setting the bar high in front of me in school. Also for staying home and working on the farm and making sure that I could afford to go to college and to law school. Thank you. I'd like to thank my friend, Governor Roy Cooper, for having the confidence in me to honor me with this appointment. His honesty and integrity and genuine love for North Carolina and all the people of this state inspire me to want to do my part to make us a great state governed by the rule of law. A state where we prize these institutions that have made us great, such as separation of powers and a strong and independent judiciary. And we have been very blessed, as has been amply documented today, by the judiciary that we have had in the 2nd Judicial District. Also want to thank all of my friends and supporters for their encouragement, especially those who took the time to write letters or make phone calls to the governor's office on my behalf. I will try my hardest every day never to disappoint you or cause you to believe that your confidence in me was misplaced. And thanks to all my friends and fellow attorneys in the 2nd Judicial District who voted to submit my name to the governor for this appointment. And also I want to thank all the other candidates whose names were also submitted for being willing to serve and guaranteeing that the governor had an excellent pool of candidates from which to choose. The honor given to me is made all the higher by the quality and fitness in legal ability, in moral fiber, and in the strength of character of those peers who must now wait for another opportunity to pursue their dreams. Any one of them would have made an excellent judge, and it is an honor to be in their company. A special thanks to my fellow attorneys in my law firm, Brian Jones and Amanda McKinney, for their support and faith in me. I wish them all the best as I leave. They're great attorneys, and I know that all my clients will be in good hands, and I hope that you will continue to trust them with your legal needs and continue to support the firm that I worked so hard to build into one of the best in eastern North Carolina, from Washington to Wilmington. To our great staff and all the employees who have helped me in the past, I was able to do my job better because of the caliber of people that you were, and your dedication and devotion to me, to our law firm, to our clients. I want to thank the late Judge William Griffin for taking a chance on a kid from a small country town with no legal connections, giving me my first full-time legal job as an assistant district attorney for the 2nd Judicial District, and allowing me to grow into the job. The judges, attorneys, clerks, probation officers, court reporters, law enforcement officers that I met along the way all taught me something in their own way, which gave me the experience and knowledge to be able to succeed in my profession. And finally, to all my friends, clients, and other supporters, all of you gathered here today who have allowed me the honor of serving as your attorney through the years, I say thanks for the memories, the friendships, and the experiences which have made me who I am today, and for your kind words and expressions of affirmation over the last few weeks. I hope that all those congratulations and likes on Facebook will turn into votes in 2020. Because I intend to fight for this position and to earn your trust and confidence in me for as long as you will allow me to serve you. And now, if I haven't left anyone out, it's time to say, call your next case.
Thank you, Judge. Keith and Ducey and others would like me to remind everyone that immediately following this session of court, there will be a reception at Bowers Hall on Market Street. And also, if you didn't have a chance to sign his registry, it will be available at Bowers Hall for that purpose. Reverend Allen, if you would deliver our benediction.
Thank you, John. One of the minor prophets of ancient Israel used 12 words to speak to all of us gathered here. We've heard lots of speaking about legal professionals, lawyers to judges. And Micah spoke about the rest of us too. His words were, "Let justice roll down like waters, and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream." That fits all of us. If we live accordingly and guide our neighbors and our friends, and the stranger in our way, our judges will not be overworked, our lawyers will not be overstrained, and our community will be better to live. May we all go into peace and love of Christ, the presence of God our Father, and in the blessing of His Holy Spirit, that we might make our world better today than it was yesterday. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. All right, Mr. Sheriff, adjourn court.
All rise. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. This honorable court for the county of Beaufort is now adjourned.